Biden must act to stop the greatest mass miscarriage of justice in American history. When President Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter, most of the pundit class was outraged. Conservative commentators, of course, accused Biden of hypocrisy, taking the pardon as proof that the Biden crime family had been real all along. But moderates and liberals also had complaints. The pardon of a family member undermines the rule of law, they said, and sets a bad precedent for Donald Trump to do the same thing, and so on. As Politico and the New York Times have reported, the Biden White House is considering preemptive pardons for numerous people on Donald Trump's FBI Director-designate Kash Patel's enemies list to spare them the ordeal of baseless harassment and prosecution. That is exactly what Biden should do. Let's look at the positive case for pardons first, and then respond to the objections some have lodged in the press. First, Trump, Patel, and others have made it clear that they intend to use the Department of Justice and the FBI more specifically to go after their political enemies, even though they haven't pointed to any specific laws their opponents have broken. That's because no laws have been broken. Yes, various public officials and journalists have defied, prosecuted, or offended Trump, an offense that he will soon have the power to punish. This is obviously new territory for the United States. No president in American history has ever promised to do this. That's because it runs counter to everything American democracy is supposed to stand for. It is what so-called banana republics and authoritarian regimes do. But it is what the president-elect has promised to do time and time again. Now, if Trump's enemies are innocent, what do they have to be afraid of? Plenty. They will be arrested. Their homes will be searched. Their privacy will be violated. They will face legal bills which can easily run to hundreds of thousands of dollars and will have to spend months defending themselves in court instead of living their lives freely. And they will be harassed, threatened, and trolled by the swarms of zealous partisans on Elon Musk propaganda platform. This happened to me recently. You probably have no idea how disgusting and disturbing it can be, especially if, like me, you're a parent. Consider the story of Dr. Stephen Hatfill, who was falsely accused of mailing envelopes of anthrax to prominent figures in 2001. We now know that he didn't do it, but the FBI ruined his life, ransacked his home and office, and leaked information to the press. Helicopters hovered overhead, and agents followed him everywhere. Eventually, he lost his job and had to go into hiding, and he was never even arrested. Will any of this happen to the people on Trump's enemies list? Given how often Trump himself made the threats on the campaign trail, why should we assume that it wouldn't? As a private citizen, Trump filed lawsuits all the time to intimidate anyone who crossed him, and as president-elect, he has appointed loyalists whose only qualification seems to be their willingness to do what they're told. I cannot think of a single reason why Trump wouldn't make good on this promise. And who's on the list? At the very least, Trump has mentioned or threatened former Rep. Liz Cheney, Dr. Anthony Fauci, Special Counsel Jack Smith, Senator-elect Adam Schiff, New York Attorney General Letitia James, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, and U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, and New York Justice Arthur Engoron. Patel's list also includes former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr, Trump's former United Nations Ambassador John Bolton, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and 50 other members of the purported deep state. Not to mention that Trump has called journalists enemies of the people, and Patel has said he wants to come after them. One person on the list is former Department of Justice official Sarah Isgur, who wrote this week in the New York Times that she does not want a pardon because she believes she will be exonerated in a court of law and vindicated in the court of public opinion. As Americans start to see his lack of evidence, Mr. Patel will look ridiculous, Isgur wrote. But is that true? Didn't Donald Trump just get elected despite being a convicted felon and under indictment for many more crimes? Innocence and guilt clearly do not generate as much outrage as one might hope. We could be facing the greatest mass miscarriage of justice in American history. Preemptively pardoning those Trump has threatened is a necessary countermeasure against unprecedented threats, both for the targets of Trump's revenge and for the integrity of the justice system as a whole. Now let's look at the negative case, specifically the objections raised by pundits and legal experts.